All right, everybody. So this is Patrick from the Poison Pen Bookstore in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'm here tonight with Nolan Knight, author of numerous books, The Neon Lights Are Veins, um, and Gallows Dome, which I'd like to ask you about, but also the brand new book that's come out about a month ago or so called The Gorgon of Los Feliz, which is one of the most inspired titles I've heard in a long time. Um, Welcome, Nolan. It's great to finally get a chance to meet you.
Thanks for having me, Patrick. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, our mutual friend, I got to give him a shout out, Peter Davis, impresario, former magazine. He used to run a kind of a classic magazine called Your Flesh, which
Mhm.
I used to write for. I used to do some features for him way back when now, but
Mhm.
he's the one that kind of originally put you on my radar. He's like, you got to read Nolan Knight. You got to read him. I'm like, all right, shit.
He's been a champion for me for a while now, and this is a long time in the making too. Your name's come up quite a bit, and yeah, I got him to thank for putting us in touch.
Definitely. Um, Now, I wanted just to kind of talk a little bit before we get into the books, a little bit about your background. I know the bio says that you're a fourth generation Angelino. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about growing up in LA.
Well, I grew up in the South Bay of LA. My mother was born in the area. My grandmother was born off Hill, just like her grandmother. So that's the lineage. Um, when I was growing up in the South Bay, there's a lot of blue collar, a lot of dads worked at the refineries or the docks. My dad was a UPS man for 36 years, and it was just kind of like a little hillside community that was, uh, I lived like a mile from the beach and big skateboard city, which is what I ended up doing most of my youth, and still a family that lives there. It's a lot different now. My in-laws.
Is South Bay, is that Long Beach?
No, it's South Bay is it's Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach,
Okay.
Torrance, Gardena, El Segundo. I mean, you can make an argument for like where you have Harbor City and San Pedro, where the unincorporated LA comes in to touch. That's kind of like the cutoff, right? And so it's basically south of Santa Monica Bay.
Okay.
But like Venice isn't part of it. But I would say like El Segundo is probably the cutoff. you
I
know,
see.
it's you can make an argument, and I'm sure people do, but
Yeah.
that's the gist of it is like Redondo, Hermosa, Manhattan.
And so we were talking a little bit before about music, of course, which plays a big role in your life and in your books. I mean, it's everywhere. When did you first kind of get into music?
Music for me was kind of like introduced, especially like rock and roll, punk rock, was through skateboarding videos when I
Uh,
was in high school. I mean, my parents were big Led Zeppelin heads and Black Sabbath. My dad, was giving me all the good stuff at an early age, but it wasn't until I started hearing things like you know, Bad Religion, Descendants, Pennywise, stuff like that through skate videos, and then you realize that like all these bands are from your city, basically, or your area, right? And then you kind of take this badge with you, and you start finding new bands or new local bands, and then it expands, and then it just gets deep in you, and it's just I don't know, it's never let go.
yeah, we were talking a little bit before we got started about just that burst of creativity and originality that kind of came out of the Los Angeles punk rock scene, which the first scene in your book, you reference the Screamers and this period in LA history with the Mask and the Starwood and all these things. Um, it's incredible to look at the variety of the different music that was coming on the scene.
Yeah, I think it's because it wasn't pigeonholed yet, like it was just an open frontier, and individuality was completely accepted, and it was almost praised, right? The more individual you could uh, the more individuality you can portray to a group of people and be accepted was your flag to fly or whatever.
think about these crazy bills you'd see on flyers, like the Blasters with Los Lobos,
Hmm.
with Saccharin Trust, with, like
Yeah.
it's completely different, interesting
And
act.
there was nothing, there was no qualms about it. You
Yeah,
know, you're gonna see a rockabilly band, a rock and roll band, a punk rock band, an avant-garde, electronic
right.
band, all in the same evening.
Yeah, an inspired moment in time. Do you see kind of evidence of that coming back? That sort of
I mean, rock and roll's still around. It's never gone away. It's just kind of you got to really do your due diligence to find what what your tastes line up with.
yeah,
There's a lot of great stuff coming out of Australia right now.
really?
There's some really couple really good, or there's more than a couple really good LA bands, some great bands in New York. It's just you got to really sniff them out,
Hmm.
but they tend to lead into each other. You'll find this band that because they went on tour with this band, and but they're playing, Alex's bar down the street. They're not playing the Troubadour.
Right,
But
right. Yeah, yeah. And there's something that's kind of, I have real fond memories of being a kid and discovering that stuff. And there's this sort of mythic quality to some of this music, well, so and so just made one single and then they broke up and you know
yeah, or they never made a record. With the Screamers, I remember I can't even tell you how many years it took me just to hear them. Probably it took me like till I got a computer and saw YouTube or something, in 2000, because you just couldn't come across bootleg tapes and things like that, but I couldn't afford them. You'd go down to Melrose and you'd find one and you'd try and get everyone to pitch in to grab it. But a lot of that stuff was so underground that I mean, a lot of it you're hearing now cleaned up for the first time, on different avenues. But I have two Screamers records that are put out by pretty reputable presses, and it blows my mind that that's even available, right?
right, right. So you became a music writer at some point, right?
Oh, I wrote for the LA Record, but from 2006 to like 2011, but I did all their film stuff. So I
Oh,
did all their coverage of all the revival houses in town, New Beverly Cinema, the Silent Movie Theater, uh, the Arrow, the Vista. Anything that was kind of going on through town, I would kind of either present, like a schedule of what's coming up, or review something that would come through, and then toward the end, they had me doing interviews with a lot of old exploitation actors and stuff, like Sid
oh, cool.
Haig and Clint Howard, and a lot of just kind of really random things that would fit the bills that were coming up at those things, and it was fun. It was just it allowed me to get access to like any show in the city I wanted to go to, like music show, right? Like I could get on. I'd submit an article. I'd talk to my editor, and then I'd be like, okay, this weekend, I kind of want to go here, and he'd be like, okay, put you on a list. It was just carte blanche for. I was living in Los Feliz at the time, and my wife and I we were just all over town, man. It was great.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it taught me a lot too about getting in and out with a reader, right? Like I had only so much space, and I went to school for creative writing. I didn't have any journalistic chops or anything, but I
Mm,
learned a lot of editing through doing that for 6 years on just cutting the fat, getting in, getting out,
hmm.
hitting notes. Um, and
There's an
so it
art.
was a learning experience that hadn't expected.
Yeah, there's an art to that.
Very, very much so. You got to have the eye, I think, for specifically for that type of writing.
For like the telling detail, you
Hmm.
know. The one I found
I
that with
mean,
book reviewing too, that I've done a lot of that and there's like get in, state your opinion,
mhm.
a little bit about the plot, get out.
Yeah, you learn real quick how much you're overwriting,
Yes,
even if you think you're being minimal.
right.
Um, and it's yeah, I learned a lot in that window.
That's awesome. So when did you start kind of writing fiction? Had you always done that?
Yeah, I started in like right out of high school, and then went to college. I went to Long Beach State. I majored in creative writing, and then when I got out, I wrote a book, and then realized I wasn't very good. I needed to like get hone the craft on a smaller level. So I started writing short stories, sending them out, and like around 2008, I got published in Thuglit, and then that kind of led to a lot of other opportunities. There were avenues like Pulp Pusher at the time, and Beat to a Pulp, and Needle, and there was a lot of wiggle room of publishable places there where you can kind of submit, get editorial feedback, and but once I got a couple published, then it just kind of snowballed from there on as far as
Yeah.
like finding new avenues to get published in. And then in 2010, I had an agent reach out to ask to write a book. So I wrote Neon Lights. He didn't want it, so I just kind of put it in my back pocket, and then sold it to an indie in 2015, and then they put it out in 2017, and then closed up shop about 4 months after that. So then I had the book in my pocket again, and Down and Out was interested in re-releasing it, and so I had a new book at the time and a collection of short stories, and I asked if they wanted to do all three, like piggyback the short stories on the re-release, and then Gallows Dome the new book, and they were all for it. They were I think they remember me from the Thuglet days and those things. Like it was a really cool meetup. They've been great, and
Is that
we just
Eric Campbell?
yeah, Eric and Lance Wright.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just kind of Lance especially. We kind of just hit it off.
Yeah. It's great to see, publishers like that making a go of it these days. And they're one of the only ones. I mean, there are a few small presses. I think the most interesting work is coming out of the small presses right now. And
Mm-hmm.
certainly in the kind of on the edgier end of fiction like the noir, modern noir and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're risk takers, and they've been doing it since 2000. Oh man, like 9 or 10. Like
Yeah.
they got a good run going, and I mean, when I sent them Gorgon of Los Feliz, that I didn't know what they were gonna say, and they're gonna well, they went along, they publish it, and then I'll have my second collection of short stories coming out next summer.
Oh yeah.
They took both of them, yeah. So it's they're very they're very supportive in advancing the craft, I think.
You're right, right. And it leads to exposure for foreign sales too, I would imagine.
Yeah, I've been in contact with some. It's just whether or not they're going to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I
But
could I could see your work really going over well in France and then
yeah, that's a big goal actually. I'd love it. I'd love to. I have buddies that are published over there, and they say it's just the best, and
yeah.
yeah, that would be an ideal spot for my work, I believe.
Yeah, I saw a blurb on one of your books from James Salas,
Mhm.
who lives out here in Phoenix and is a good friend. I've known him for almost 30 years and
Yeah,
remarkable writer. I mean,
incredible,
nobody like.
incredible. When he sent that over, you kind of, I don't know. There's those moments where you know you get a feedback like that, and it's just kind of it makes it all worth it. It doesn't matter if the
Yeah.
book comes out or not.
Yeah,
you
I'll bet it
know,
really kind of boosted your confidence.
oh man, like Barry Gifford blurred my short story collection, and I just about passed out.
Yeah,
I couldn't get over it, but I mean that's what makes it all to me. It's just like there's nothing better than that.
totally. Let's talk a little bit about Gorgon. Tell me a little bit about sort of where this book, the idea for this book came from.
Yeah, I've been wanting to write like a short con novel, something. I'm a big fan of like Thompson's The Grifters, where it's
Mhm.
just um, your average everyday kind of sleazebag, going through life, uh, hustling to eat basically. And I had the idea of rattling around for a little bit, and you know, when I was writing for the LA Record, you're at all these events where you different shows and different issue release parties and all these things, and you keep rubbing elbows with these people that you don't really quite know, but everyone knows them, you know.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then you realize that nobody really knows them; they just know of them. And
Yes.
then you realize that, like, man, they're at everything. Like, and you'll see them in the daytime, and you'll say, like, what is this? How's this person living out here in the city when I'm working, you know, a crummy job for, you know, all week long just to have enough to go to one show during the weekend or whatever. Like, how's this person everywhere? And then that kind of planted a seed of just um, of a perfect avenue to find this really like chameleon like character that is just swimming through the fringe of Hollywood.
And she, you know, she's a hustler. You know, she uses her assets, shall we say. And these days, of course, so much of that has to do with online, you know,
Mm-hmm. Perception, right?
perception and webcam and creating these different identities and
Capitalizing on opportunity,
right.
capitalizing on the ignorance of others that are, you know, that come to the city expecting something that doesn't exist, right?
Yep.
Playing them at the game that they want to be played at. I guess, you know, it's hard for the people to hate her when she's just she's a semblance of what they want to be.
Right. You know, this goes back to like you think about the classic early days of Hollywood and LA, you know, the generations of you know, pretty girls coming from Midwest towns and arriving at Hollywood and Vine with all
Mm,
these dreams, you know. And so much of that, like Chandler and Kane and a lot of, you know, a lot of these writers, Jim Thompson a little bit later, you know, they explore that, the facade, you know, the
yeah.
glittering facade of
Well,
Hollywood.
it's happening right now.
Oh,
You
for
know,
sure.
tonight a Greyhound's pulling up right now, and that's happening. You know, there's just it's probably nowadays there's a guy with a camera saying he works with TMZ, right, or something like that,
Uh-huh.
and come to my office at the Frolic Room, and we'll have some drinks, and I'll tell you about it. You know, like there's a slippery people all over the place, but the magnetism that attracts people from everywhere here, it makes them just prime for the taking. And it's sad to say, but it's. I mean, you read the paper every day, and it's there's something in there, you know.
Yeah. Right. I mean, there's no place like Los Angeles, you know. It's got
Mm.
this interesting kind of occult underbelly to it.
Yeah, yeah. There's a superficiality that everyone knows about it, right? Like the Baywatch aspect and uh, these these things that, you know, hundreds of books, fiction books come out a year about them, and you know, Sunset Boulevard and all this stuff. The real underlying realm of Los Angeles is just it's in its small neighborhoods every 5 blocks for miles and miles on end, where it's you could tell 100 stories every 4 blocks, you know, and there you'll be nowhere near Hollywood and nowhere near an actor or all these things that are tropes now, you know, to even want to write about. I think, and it's just that's the type of stuff that interests me, right? Like what's up with the mailman after he gets off instead of you know who's at the Chateau Marmont or something like that.
Right, right. And so you, yeah, you put together this great cast of characters in this book.
Thanks.
And yeah, so Cameron, what's her name? Cameron Kilbride, Cam, you know, she's a survivor. She's been through all these different, you know, foster homes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what can we say about the book without giving away spoilers? I mean, it's a classic. There's some classic, you know, crime fiction conventions. You know, the classic missing
Yeah.
girl, the girl who's gone missing. And tell us a little bit about the story.
The story's about Cam, who's newly evicted. She's been living under rent control, so there's no way she can afford modern rent. She's trying to figure out a way to stay within the city because she's from the city. She doesn't want to move outside of it. And she's doing odd jobs or odd schemes of selling drink tickets outside of venues and things like that. And one of the main avenues of revenue she gets is from selling things online, like garments or pictures of herself. And one of the people that was purchasing those is a girl that was gone missing, and her affluent parents know that she's doesn't really have many friends, but she talks about Cam, and Cam only knows her through online. And so the dad approaches her and asks her to go help find the girl for a reward, and that's all she needs because she's just desperate to stay in the city.
Right. And so he sends her up to Las Vegas.
That was the last known place that the band played that his daughter was on tour with selling merch for, a psychedelic band. And he went out there initially, but the doors closed to him. He's an older man who's has no business being in these rock and roll clubs or whatnot. And Cam's kind of the belle of the ball, and so she goes out there. She knows she has contacts out there, and finds finds the girl in a period of time that kind of realizes that she's in over her head once she does.
Yeah, it's funny. All roads lead back to the desert, don't they? I mean, ultimately.
I mean, you're in LA, you could be in the desert or you could be in the snow at the same amount of
Yeah.
time, right? So you have that luxury. And I mean, Vegas is my whole childhood. Every vacation we had was a week in Vegas every year.
Really?
Yeah, and so it was
Wow.
like I know Vegas very, very well. And but I think that for a character like Cam, a city like Vegas is just a little bit too easy, right? Like
Hmm.
she's not from there. She doesn't want to go there, but to her, it's offensive how easy it is to, just take people's money. Um,
Yeah, it's a city built upon con artistry, right?
yeah, yeah, it's like been there, done that. She's forging her new terrain or something.
Right. And so, there's a compound out in the desert called what did you call it?
Uh,
Rancho de la Rosa,
yeah,
which is kind of like how would you describe it? Part recording studio, part
yeah. It's owned by just a burnout who
yeah,
wants to record bands out there, and his parents have a big swath of land, and he builds like he takes cargo containers and makes little places for visiting musicians to come and stay while he can try and get a chance to record them and relive this semblance of notoriety he had 30 years ago when he put out some band that really took off, right? Another form of grifter, right? Another
for
type of
sure.
exploitation of identity. He most people that go there think of him as this. That's the guy who recorded this. When really it's like not just some asshole living with his parents in the desert.
Yeah, exactly. And then thrown into that mix, you have this really interesting Bet Shimosky, is that her name?
Yeah, Bet Shumsky.
Shumsky.
Yeah, that was actually I wrote a draft, and she was in there toward the end, and the readers, like the editorial feedback I got, kept kind of talking about her, and I was like, I think I can flesh this out into more of a better like a more rich story with just putting her in. And she's just got promoted to detective, but just found out she's pregnant, and she's trying to get a first case, and everyone's kind of treating her with kid gloves because she's starting to show. And uh, Tiffany Stevenson, her dad Richard, goes to her in the prologue and is trying to find Tiffany before he goes to Cam. And she kind of takes the picture and starts asking around about the girl because she's really got nothing else to do. And
Right.
just her curiosity and kind of the maternal instinct that she's starting to feel in her body kind of
Hmm.
propel her in this narrative and taking a bigger role, towards the climax.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, and then I love the Mauve character too.
Yeah.
and Stan and that whole
Thanks. Yeah.
yeah.
Those were fun. She was fun to write, man. And there's not a, every not every character is fun to write. A lot of them when you're done, you're like, that's it. I don't want to have anything to do with this person anymore. So whenever I put her in a scene, she kind of stole the scene on her own. Like just through dialogue and
Yeah, she's got a great voice.
yeah, I had a lot of fun with that part of the plot.
And she hooks up with this bogus uh, guru kind of figure
Hmm.
who has his own con going, which
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, these yoga retreats, and turns out he
It,
just got out of prison.
yeah, he's just some parolee from Corcoran that, uh, you know, found a boat and called it his own, and
Yeah,
then
right. Yeah.
moved into the docks in Long Beach and just kind of became a salty dog. And because he has this free flowing energy, he kind of started attracting all the bored housewives in town and
Mm.
creating his own little uh, monetary grift with through yogi BS and whatever. It's just he's a pretty dim-witted guy, so to see him make it that far, it was fun putting him in these situations.
And Richard, the father, he's just kind of hapless.
Mm.
Uh, how would you describe him?
He's just a trust funder. He's a in this long line of industrialists who made a lot of money for themselves, and then he inherited their company and just completely ran it to the ground. And 100% of his identity is wrapped up in being the CEO of this company, and the fact that the company's no more isn't what bothers him. It's that he doesn't know who he is anymore because there's no company, which was never his in the beginning. It's just his attachment of identity towards this capitalistic venture that he thought he could handle is just its own noir trajectory, right? Of
Hmm.
of a
Definitely,
character.
definitely. And Mauve, what's her con?
Mauve is just a survivalist, right? She's she always has a plan B, right? That stands her plan B because Richard's going under, and
Hmm.
Richard's not her first husband, and Tiffany's Richard's stepdaughter, and she's riding a wave of appearing affluent, right? Even though she hasn't been wealthy in some time. But losing that form of identity to her is worth killing for, right?
Yeah, and Tiffany, inherited a big boatload of cash, so suddenly,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And really has no interest in it. She's more
Hmm.
interested in finding out who she is as a person in her early 20s and learning more about experiencing life on for outside of country clubs and things of that.
Right. And all the adults in her life want to
They want the money.
bleed her dry.
They need it. They need it in
Yeah.
order to keep on the appearance of looking successful.
Right. Right. Now, some of the music I've got to ask you. There's some great little details. There's a Mad and the Lord God.
That
Tell me about them.
was just scratching for a band name, and I just at the time I was listening to a lot of just garage rock, and you come across some of these bands with just off the wall uh,
They're
costumes they were on stage, or just madcap names, and I was just thinking of something that was a little bit too wild to say it's not true. you
Yeah,
know.
for sure. Now, I want to ask you back up a little bit and ask you about the Gallows Dome,
Mhm.
and that talk a little bit about that book and where that idea came from, and it seemed like a very timely kind of novel.
Yeah, that was I was going up to the Central Valley a lot and dealing with a lot of truck stops, and it just kind of supplanted in my head that I wanted to write just a kind of truck stop novel, but not in the sense of like the movie Convoy or anything. I wanted something that a lot of the like even with Neon Lights or Veins, I'm more interested in like subsurface. Like Neon Lights take some place in Hollywood, but a lot of it's the underground portions of it that some of that stuff's really there, right? And so this was just like, well, what's the underside of a lot of these things that are kind of ominous at night? And you have these characters in from LA who one of them's lost a daughter years ago and they've never found her, and one of them's newly can't find hers, and she sees a TV show about disappearing kids and links up with the older gentleman because he used a private eye that got close to finding his daughter, and that's the whole volition of that story. And the PI in that's named Joe Delancey, who's really fun to write, and it was just a labyrinthian novel through the Central Valley from LA. That was the whole impetus of it.
Wow. It seemed like Shumsky in this, she could have had her own novel completely.
Probably. I mean, it's just my brain didn't work like that, I guess. She was an afterthought from the book that turned out as a happy accident.
Yeah, yeah. So who would you describe as some of your main sort of literary heroes? Who do you draw inspiration from?
Yeah, like the big ones for me, the first big one was like Nathaniel West when I was in college, uh Day of the Locust, and then Nelson Algren, getting
Mm,
really into Algren, who led me to Hubert Selby, and then through years of just reading Steve Erickson and all these kind of avant-garde LA authors, I landed on Philip K. Dick, and
oh,
I think it's like every 3 4 months I'll read a PKD book and just kind of reset. I don't know if that
yeah.
makes any sense. It's just
What are some?
it's like it just my brain works on a lower frequency, so it kind of like wipes it clean, and then I can go back into reading whatever.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Philip K. Dick's a big one too.
What are some of your favorites of his books?
I really like Wait Now for Last Year.
I don't know that one.
You don't know that one? It's like one of his time travel. Like a lot of them they're steeped in paranoia and conspiracy. So there's a
Right.
lot of I could give you the plot line to that, and you'll think of 30 other books that he did.
Is there
Um,
is there a profound religious experience or is it before that?
no, it's before that. I'm trying to think because it's kind of similar to Doctor Futurity in scope, but I mean, they kind of all mesh together now. I just
They
finished reading
do.
Galactic Pot Healer, and that was just that was a guy that could fix clay pots on land on Earth, but they can't do it in space. But no one will pay him to do it on Earth anymore because it's a dead profession. And so this god up there is like, I'll bring you up here if you help raise this chapel from the water and build all the pots. And people are like, "Don't go. He's just gonna get you up there and kill you." And his response is like, "I'm already dead down here, right?" And he
Yeah.
goes,
What
and
do I have
so
to lose?
just the simple nugget like that to put
Mm,
a 200-page book from beginning, middle to end together with such a bizarro, I find that like pretty liberating to just
yeah.
have no filter on your imagination and seeing where it goes. There's no way he outlined that. He probably wrote it in 2 days, but
Right.
uh,
On some speed,
yeah, for
binge.
sure. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of his stuff. It overlaps, but it's just so wild that if I wait every 4 or 5 months, I kind of forget about the previous one, and it's a whole new experience. Or reading a new one.
My wife is a massive fan, and she's read much more than I have, but she says that she prefers his short stories.
I
Um,
believe it. I mean,
yeah,
Minority Report's fantastic.
right.
I don't. Yeah, it's Minority Report. That's a book. Like it. But short stories are the hardest things to write. Because every single sentence has to build off the sentence before it,
Mm,
and if there's any fat, it's glaring. And
hmm
so to have something as tight as that, it's, that's masterful.
Yeah, I like Flow My Tears, the policeman said, and
It's a great one.
what's the one about the stigmata of Palmer?
Palmer Eldritch.
Palmer, I like that one a lot.
Yeah, Ubik's good.
Ubik's really good. Yeah,
Um,
so many. And then, through my friendship with Jim Salas, he's of course a big fan, but he turned me on to Theodore Sturgeon
okay.
and some of those books, which are kind of in that sort of weirdo edge of,
Yeah,
surrealist fiction, whatever you want
there.
to
Yeah,
call
I'm still digging my way through. I just a buddy turned me on to the Alfred Bester
it.
uh,
Yeah,
novel, and that was just. I mean, you immediately go to the copyright and look at the year that's written because it's just the 20. That's the same with PKD. Like a lot of stuff's like 20 years ahead of its time.
for
That
sure.
Galactic Pot Healer read like it was written in the 80s, and he wrote it in like 1966. And that's kind of eerie too. When
Right.
you really sit down and think about it. But
Was
yeah,
it
I'm
the
I'm still a
Demolished Man?
novice at sci-fi. What was that?
Was it the Demolished Man? You were,
No, it was like something my stars. Um, oh, I mean,
I know
it's
what you're
gonna.
talking. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's gonna drive me nuts. Yeah, that's another main problem is like just digging into books and forgetting.
Stars my destination. No,
It's
stars my. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's his big like outside of the Demolished Man or whatever. It's the
Mm.
other one that's revered. God, I can't think of the name. And it was released under a different title. That's why I'm kind of getting it confused. Man, the Stars My Destiny.
Is that right?
The Stars My Destination. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, what are you working on now? You said you have another book is it done or in
Yeah, I
the
got a draft. I finished a draft last 2 Fridays ago, but I write pen to paper, so um, and I write slow because I kind of like I'll write 30, 40 pages and then I'll type them up and I'll edit them and I kind of like live in the soup a little bit. But this is it's the hardest thing I've ever written. It took me 2 years, 8 months, and 15 days to get a draft of it, which is longer than I've ever written anything. And it's a nihilistic book about the cyclical destruction of Los Angeles, and it takes place over a couple different time periods, and it's a new avenue for me. Um, there's elements of magic realism and crime fiction in it as well, and it was just so fun to write. It was just figuring out structurally how to do it. Took me a long time, and I didn't start it until I had the structure on how I could do it, and then I researched it for almost a year. So this has been kicking around for a long time. With Gorgon, I wrote this during the pandemic,
I see.
so you can see it's like the the slowness of like the publication for me is like 5 years behind or whatever it seems like
Mm.
like the re-release of Neon Lights was in 2022. I wrote that book in 2010, and
Hmm.
then Gallows Dome I wrote in 2017, and it came
Okay.
out in 2023. So um, I'm just I'm right now I'm at the point where I'm going to put it aside for a couple months, go back with some you know fresh eyes, start cutting away or adding, and then give it to my wife, let her cut it up, and then hopefully start shopping it. I don't have an agent right now. I'm in between them, so it's finding one to shop it for me would is like another priority.
Hmm. Yeah, you mentioned, I think it was you that mentioned Nat Sobel somewhere in the
Yeah, I
was
was
he
I was with him for a while, and he was actually the one that with Gorgon he gave me a lot of editorial notes and like help I'd give him scenarios on things I'd want to write, and he'd be like, "Well, write this. Give me 50 pages of this, and maybe I can see if I want to sell it or whatever." And I give him 50 pages and be like, "Okay, run with this for the whole book." And then I do the book, and then he'd have like an editorial staff in house, and they'd come back with notes, and his were always really great. I mean, I learned a lot working with him, but this did never went to market.
Mm.
I which is kind of a bummer. At the time, it was there was a lot, there was a little bit. Gallows Dome was really close to go into a couple of places, and um, but at the same time, having Gorgon out is just pretty exciting. Regardless of how it got there, every book has its own path to publication, and I'm not going to stand in the way. If a door opens, I'll step through it.
Yeah, I imagine it's really hard, to publish, an uncompromising book that you want to write and
Mm-hmm.
place it at a big house, and then find that they don't do anything with it. They just put it out there, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I've heard stories, and um, you know,
do you know Josh Kendall at Mulholland?
um, yeah, he was a reader of Gallows Dome, and
Oh, really?
he, I his stuff my stuff would go to him first back in the day.
Yeah, because he's got a great eye, it seems.
I've never met him in person, but I've seen correspondence with from my stuff being submitted to him.
Another one would be Soho. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Juliet at Soho be good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, anyone who's willing to take a risk, that to me, that's the biggest compliment, I think. Because I mean, the way it comes out of my head is how it comes on the page. It's hard for me to try and create something that just doesn't interest me, or
Mm.
I believe in, I guess, or that I'd want to read. You know,
So I assume you still have a day job, right?
yeah,
What's your day
yeah.
job?
I work for an engineering firm in town, and I basically do admin stuff, technical writing, things like that.
Okay.
Kind of a jack of all trades.
Right.
But it's interesting. It's interesting because it's not. Uh, there's nothing that's like taking my creative forces from me, right? It's like I go there, it keeps my grammar sharp. I got things to do, and then I go on my way.
Right. Right. It's not a soul sucker
Well,
in certain aspects.
in certain aspects, I mean, it provides, and that's all I really care about. It's just
Okay.
my family's comfortable, and allows me to write on the weekends, or in the mornings, or whenever I feel like it, and that's freeing in itself.
Yeah. Well, Nolan, it's been a lot of fun talking with you. I'd love to get you out here for an in-person kind of gig at some point.
Yeah, I'm not that far.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we could do some sort of package thing. Maybe get Jim when he finishes his book. I know he's
Mm-hmm.
got some big project that he's working on that was pretty hush hush for a while, but he may have already announced it. But
Uh, I know that he's got that Evan Dando book coming out in October,
yeah,
which I'm looking forward to. That one's been on the back burner for a minute. Um,
maybe that was the one I'm thinking of.
but yeah, that one they just announced. Um, but yeah, I'd love to come out. I mean, I'm gonna be out in the desert at the 29 Palms Book Festival, and be reading at NoirCon this year in Palm Springs. So it's
Oh,
you know
cool.
from there, what Phoenix is only you know
Four or
four,
five
three,
hours.
4 or
Yeah,
5 hours. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not bad.
yeah. You'd want to come in the winter time though. It's just brutal right now.
Yeah, you were saying. I believe it. I've been there as a kid, and I remember the heat,
Yeah.
Sedona, and Grand Canyon, and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But beautiful, beautiful area.
Yeah. Well, before we sign off, what are you listening to at the moment? Anything?
Bands.
Yeah.
My favorite one right now is out of LA called Memo PST. They're just a rock and roll band that is made up of a bunch of guys from other bands I really liked, and uh, they're local. I'm trying to think. Oh, who else? Ty Segall just came out with a new record. I'm always listening to Ty Segall and his stuff. And King Tuff just moved from LA. We went to his farewell show a couple month ago. Um, where else, man? There's a band called Oog Bogo that's got a new album coming out that their last one was really good. It's just I could go on for half an hour right now.
Yeah, I find myself discovering old stuff that I never knew about, or
Uh,
you know,
no,
um,
I'm the same way. Like I geek out harder on that because then you can hear a lineage almost to what you're listening to now, and you're like, oh man, this sounds like this, that sounds like this, it sounds like this, it sounds like the Plugs, or
right,
like
right.
you're connecting a puzzle piece in your brain for the type of music that you like, I guess.
Yeah, I went through a big couple of years ago. I went through a big Kinks deep
Yeah,
dive.
I just got through one of those. I bought a
Yeah,
bunch of Kinks records and was just real
it's
deep diving.
amazing stuff.
It's just I think they're so understated still. I think that people are still catching up with them. You know, when you have
Definitely.
the Beatles and the Stones were like the perfect avenues to just shadow them, but
Hmm.
they're responsible for just so much great stuff that came after too. And prolific, man. How many records? Like,
Tons.
uh,
There's
yeah,
that real interesting period, like in the maybe 66 to 72 or something,
mm-hmm,
where the Muswell Hillbillies record and
mm-hmm.
the Kinks are the Village Green Preservation Society, which I thought was a masterpiece.
You can get lost.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's bands that you can get lost in that have like a fourth of the record, the fourth of the output that they've put out. But with the Kinks, I think that it's like I'll take in a couple records, I'll digest them, and then I'll marinate for a while, and then I'll
right.
go back in for the three because you know listening to that whole discography is just it's overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, yeah, totally. I know what you're saying, because there are certain periods, like I remember for a long time with Tom Waits, I really liked his early stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but then he got too out there for me later, and now
Mm-hmm.
I love the out there stuff.
Yeah,
I love all of the real avant-garde stuff that he does.
I did that with Neil Young years ago, maybe
Hmm.
15 years ago, where I got like a Barnes and Noble gift certificate for Christmas from someone, and I just bought as many CDs of his as possible, and then I would listen to like one every 2 months until I was getting into the Crazy Horse, Ragged Glory, and all this just. But I had to take my time with it, and it's fun to do that, but at the same time you'll realize like, oh, years gone by and I
Hmm.
haven't listened to anything new. What's going on?
Right.
That band broke up, what? Like lucky for me, I live really close to all these really small venues that like Alex's Bar and Supply and Demand, and like so there's always great bands coming through, and they'll play the Greek, or they'll open for someone at the Greek, or they'll play the Fonda or whatever, and then on Sunday night they're here at
Hmm.
at a 2 o'clock matinee show, and I can go catch it, grab dinner, and then be done.
Like
But
go see the Damned or something at the
yeah,
Alex. Yeah.
yeah, I got tickets to the Circle Jerks on the 19th for Keith's 70th birthday party or 70th birthday show, and
Good job.
it's like Rocket from the Crypts opening for him with Negative Approach and bunch of the Gorilla Biscuits. It's gonna be fun at the Palladium. It'll be cool.
I saw Bad Religion out here not too long ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they were a lot of fun. I
Yeah,
just
they're great. They're a great live band.
Yeah, I just can't imagine. I mean, the energy they put into it at that age, it just
I
seems.
don't know. I don't have a musical bone in my body, so I don't know what it takes to do that up there. I just pretend they're just superhuman, and that's
Yeah,
what they're born to do.
that first Bad Religion album was a biggie for me growing
Mm-hmm.
up. How could
Yeah,
hell be any worse? That was a big one.
yeah, yeah. That was in the South Bay. Suffer was a big one.
Hmm.
Um, I remember having a tape of what is it, 85 to 8? Is it the one with the
80 with a bunch of boots on the front.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the Culver picture. I had a tape of that, but yeah, I mean, all that stuff I geek out hard on.
A
There's a big
Minuteman.
record swap meet coming up on the 20th, and I'm already like, looking around for stuff to get a little bankroll
Checked
so I
out.
can go there and you
Yeah.
know, grab some good stuff.
Right. Well, we digress, but
Yeah.
we could probably talk all night about music. Uh,
Yeah, man.
but it's really great getting a chance to visit with you a bit. And
Yeah, this is a long time in the making, and
yeah,
I look forward to hanging out in person.
that'd be great. Me too. I get over there sometimes.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm around, man, and I meet up with Peter all the time. He's always got some band that he's on the list for. I told him I'm like, oh yeah, we got Circle Jerk tickets, and he's like, oh, I'm on the list. It's like, yeah, of course you are, man, but I'm not on the list. Like
Right.
you could tell me if you got a +1 though. I'll be down. But yeah, he's introduced me to a lot of interesting characters.
Great
Um,
guy. My wife and I went out to LA and a couple of years ago when they had that big Nuggets concert out
oh yeah,
the
the Lenny K put that on.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I was in New York for Gallows Dome reading at KGB Bar, and that was going on the same night in New York.
Oh, really?
And I found out about it the next morning. I was just like, oh man. I mean, I couldn't have went if I wanted to, but man, what a show.
You know, was fun about that, and I'm sure you would have appreciated this, is that I mean the musicians were fantastic, of course, but it was like every weirdo came out of the woodwork of LA
Mhm.
to show up for this,
For sure.
and it was fun to watch. Just sort of people.
Like one of my biggest regrets is that the LA Record put on the Rocky Erickson show at the El
Uh,
Rey when he was like one of his first shows back. And but it was on like a Tuesday. For my day job, I was working as a real estate appraiser, and I had all this stuff the next day, and I was like, I don't know if I can swing it. I'm like, I'll catch him when he comes back around, and he just never did.
yeah.
He started touring. I remember he went to Europe, and I have a bootleg record of him playing in Switzerland, I think, or Sweden, and it's great. But that's the closest thing that I'll have to seeing them live when I think about that missed opportunity like all the time because he passed, like a year or two after that.
I'm sure you saw the documentary that was done.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty interesting documentary, I thought.
For the subject matter and yeah, you'll miss me when I'm gone, right?
Yeah, you're gonna miss me.
You're gonna miss me. Yeah, yeah. It's I remember seeing that at the I when I was with the record, I covered the Don't Knock the Rock Fest that Allison Anders would throw every year, and it'd be
Oh,
at the Cine Family, and that premiered there. I want to say it was like the same year that this Whittier Boulevard or like East Los Punk uh, documentary did premiered, and the Zeros got together and played there, and so I got to
really?
see them play at the Silent Movie Theater in Fairfax. I want to say that was the same, yeah, but I interviewed Allison for that, and we just became buddies since then. She blurred Black Palms, and just the coolest lady, man. The cool and
She did gas, food, and lodging, right?
Gas Food and Lodging and Mi
Mhm.
Vida Loca, which when I was a kid, I remember seeing Mi Vida Loca and thinking like, wow, this is all happening 12 miles from me. Like it was just wild. Um, but just a total visionary. And she, like her mentors, Wim Wenders, right? Like
Really?
she worked on Paris, Texas with him and stuff. And so you could sit there and the stories that she's got, and she's a trailblazer. It's pretty cool to know that I got to meet her and we're friendly.
Yeah, and of course I'm sure she has some good Harry Dean Stanton stories.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
In this town. But yeah, another one that man, his last movie was incredible. Lucky, did you see that?
Haven't seen that.
Man, it's just like it's a perfect end cap on a perfect career, but it's just if you put anyone else in it, I don't know if it works.
Mm.
It's and he's just this aging guy that like hangs out at bars, and it's like the dross of his days. Like that's the whole movie.
Hmm.
but he sells it so hard. It's just it's incredible, you know.
I'll
Um,
have to check it out.
yeah, Lucky. Yeah, yeah. That's I got to rewatch that.
Yeah. Well, boy.
Time
Um,
flies.
yeah. Hey, great. Congratulations on the book, and everybody, you need to check this out. I've made it the September pick of our Hard Boiled Club here at this Poison Pen bookstore.
Awesome.
You'll get a copy of it, and yeah, it's really been a treat. So
Thanks, Patrick.
much. Yeah. Have a great night, and
You
we'll be
too.
talking again soon.
All right, buddy.
All
Nice to
right,
meet
man.
you. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.